Good morning. We have a very special guest today who is an observer, a journalist, somebody who can chronicle, and somebody who is more than just a trusted name in journalism. Her name is Maureen Boyle. She is a professor at Stonehill College, an award-winning journalist, and somebody that I have utmost respect for. Welcome.
Oh, thank you so much for having me, and thank you for such kind words.
You've been in this business of chronicling for a long time.
Yes, I started right out of high school at my hometown paper in Connecticut, in a city that's not unlike New Bedford.
Really?
So it's been a long, long road, and I majored in journalism in college, and then started working on papers throughout New England.
Maureen, you have how many books out now?
Right now, I've got 3 books out, and a 4th will be coming out within a year.
The first, of course, Shallow Graves, The Hunt for the New Bedford Highway Serial Killer. You just mentioned the word roads. When you drive the highways, Route 140, around New Bedford, do you hear or see anything that most people wouldn't?
That's interesting that you say that. Whenever I go down 140 or down 195 or down Route 88, I always think of the women that were found there. And if I'm not driving, if I'm in the passenger side, I find myself looking at the roadside and wondering if perhaps one of the 2 missing women, of the 11 women who went missing in 1988, only 9 of them were found. And 2 of the women are still missing. And I always wonder, are those 2 women someplace along the highway or a little bit deeper in the woods that perhaps searchers missed?
If silence could speak, what do you think it would tell you? What would it say about those women, about that time, about New Bedford back then? Would it say anything?
I think there's some mixed messages about that time. In 88, drug addiction was something that everyone, it was a secret in families. People would talk about, someone's son or daughter was quote unquote on drugs. And there was shame involved as opposed to looking at it as a disease.
They were dope addicts.
Yeah.
Not addiction, right?
Exactly. There was something evil about it, as opposed to this is something that we need to get someone help for.
Right.
And, what is interesting about that time, most of the addicts that I was seeing on the street then many of them were from the suburbs. They were, came from middle-class families, working-class families. Some of them came from wealthy families, primarily white, and they just got sucked into heroin, which is just a horrible, horrible drug. I always call it the devil drug because it is so difficult to kick that habit. It isn't just a matter of you stop. You can't stop because it's a physical addiction, and when people who are addicted to heroin, when they quote unquote just stop, they get violently ill, and that is, they feel like they're going to die.
If these women were from Beverly Hills, the social standing was different. The economy was different. But we're in New Bedford. Would there have been a different response from the public?
I get that question asked a lot, and we can't compare the two. Because when someone is an addict deep into the throes of addiction, they may disappear for weeks on end. They're not holding jobs. So that if they disappear, people may not notice right
They're
away.
invisible.
Yes. However, to the credit of New Bedford is not a city that forgets people. This is not a city where families ignore their loved ones. And in this case, so many of the families reported their wives or daughters missing, or their mothers missing, almost immediately, not like the next day, but within a week. So as a result, police had a very good timeline. But we also have to remember drug addicts, particularly during that period of time, would go missing or not have contact with their families for a period of time. I know of one case where a good friend of mine, her sister, went missing during the highway killings. And her sister was a heroin addict, and she was just petrified that her sister was going to be found along the highway at some point. And it turned out her sister had left the state and then came back 2 months later.
It's interesting you say New Bedford is not a city that forgets its own. That's very important about a city because it speaks about its true character. And when we speak on an issue like this, usually one of the quiet tragedies is that the killer becomes famous and the women become a footnote.
Yes, that is true. We all know the name Ted Bundy, but do we know the names of all the victims?
Right.
You know who the Green River Killer is,
Right.
but do you know the names of the dozens and dozens of victims? And that's sad. And with the book Shallow Graves, one of the things I wanted to make sure that people knew the victims, that these were women with a past and hopefully a future. The real tragedy, there's many tragedies in this case, but these women never got the chance to get clean.
Never did.
And some of them wanted to, but someone took that away from them, took that away from their families and their children.
So when we think about the women in Shallow Graves, did your book do anything to help bring back their identity?
I hope so. I really hope so. Too often, people paint this case with this really broad brush of these women were, quote unquote, all prostitutes. And they weren't. They were all addicted, but not all of them had a record of prostitution. Some of them did, but not all of them. The key point, the unifying element in the case was their addiction, and they were susceptible to not making perhaps the best choices of where they were going.
When we come back, we'll find out more about these women. Something that you have done in Shallow Graves is, I believe, you have honored them with dignity. And I want to talk about that when we return with Maureen Boyle, author of her third or fourth book now, but Shallow Graves, a must-read. We'll be right back. More of this amazing discussion in a minute. But first, please like, follow, and share The Phil Show now. Thank you so much. Let me thank the good folks at iGreen Landscape, your one-stop solution for your residential and commercial property management. Whether it's snowing or whether you're mowing, let Team iGreen handle your landscape and hardscape year-round. From spring cleanups to commercial snow management, I recommend the good folks at iGreen Landscape. Call for your complimentary consultation today. welcome you back with Maureen Boyle, author of Shallow Graves, and two other books that we'll also talk about. Journalists, and you're an award-winning journalist. Journalists usually turn up on the worst possible day of somebody's life.
Yes, it is.
It's just part of the nature of the business. You're there for, that sad pronouncement or whatnot. So with that, do you take some of the grieving home with you?
I try not to. I mean, it's very hard.
How do you not?
It's hard. It's hard. I've had that discussion with some other journalists that I know over the years who also specialized in crime reporting. And that's where you do see people at their absolute worst. And we were explaining to someone who covered politics at the time. I was working in New Hampshire at the time. And we were at a Mexican restaurant and we're talking about covering crime and interviewing and talking to grieving families and how you handle those type of cases. And we came to the conclusion that it is very much like touching a flame, where you get close enough to be able to write the story properly and to convey properly the anguish of a family without being maudlin, where you get close enough to a flame and you feel the heat, but you can't get so close where you get burned.
Interesting.
And because otherwise you wouldn't be able to write the story.
I've often wondered how, as a journalist, especially a crime journalist, do you balance your humanity with the facts? At some point, do you allow that spirit inside you to bridge the two together? I just never know how you do this.
You can never lose your humanity. You have to respect the families. And that's one of the reasons why, there are some journalists who really balk at talking to grieving families or doing what I consider those hard stories. And I would say I would rather talk to the families because I know how to do it than to have them subjected to someone who will make them feel worse. And I have seen some journalists who don't do that on a regular basis, and the families are just absolutely appalled. And it hurts them more by some of the questions.
Maureen, what is more difficult? To perhaps know who committed the crime or not know?
I think it would be more difficult for families to not know. Because if they know who it is, at least they have an answer. I'm not going to use the word closure because there is no closure, but they will have an answer. So that perhaps some can compartmentalize it, at least. But not knowing it's an open wound for families because they never know at any time someone could be knocking on their door and say, oh, we've identified the killer or we've arrested the killer. The same when someone is missing and presumed dead. They can never move, quote unquote, move on. They can never get to that next level because at any moment someone can come knocking on the door.
Exactly. Do unsolved cases leave the community not fully healed?
I would say that's true. That's very, very true. I think the New Bedford Highway case is an open wound for the city of New Bedford because a city like New Bedford, where pretty much everyone knows each other, there's, people know someone because through marriage, a cousin, they went to school with them. You know, there's 2 or 3 degrees of separation of everyone in this area.
Right.
And this case, I think, has touched so many people, and so many people have been hurt by this case and hurt by this killer.
So this case tells us something about New Bedford in the late 1980s, obviously. And what does it reveal about New Bedford today?
That this is as much as people in New Bedford like to, I'd say, shame the city or, you know, bring it down. New Bedford is a very kind city. It is a very close-knit city. It is a very diverse city. It is, I think, the nicest city I have seen. People like to, in some circles, like to talk about, it's quote-unquote crime-ridden. I'm going to tell you, this is not a city that's crime-ridden. I have seen crime-ridden cities. I'm not going to say it on the air, but trust me, this is not a crime-ridden city. That's not to say that there aren't problems.
Of course.
But there are problems that money could solve if someone comes in with a boatload of money and good industry, so that people don't have to commute, that they can stay around here. But this is a very nice city, populated by some of the sweetest, kindest, and smartest people I have ever seen.
Maureen, we're going to continue to find out more about your books. In just a moment, Maureen Boyle, our special guest. Shallow Graves, along with some other books, are a must-read, and we'll tell you more about it on The Phil Show now as we continue. More of this amazing discussion in a minute, but first, please like, follow, and share The Phil Show now. If you're ready to finally make your biggest dreams a reality, let my friend Jared Methia at Milestone Mortgage Solutions get you your next mortgage or your next home loan. Jared is a trusted local loan officer who works with some of the most reputable companies. Jared reminds me if you're a first-time home buyer or maybe you're looking to refinance. He says, go to him. And I, too, recommend Jared Methia, providing you with a stress-free experience. Call Jared today for a competitive rate, for quick approvals, and for one-of-a-kind personalized service. That's Jared Methia at Milestone Mortgage Solutions. You can now watch The Phil Show whenever you'd like. Like, follow, and share The Phil Show now. And catch us wherever you catch your favorite podcasts. Like, follow, and please share The Phil Show now with a friend. The Phil Show now. Welcome back to The Phil Show now. We're speaking with Maureen Boyle about Shallow Graves, about some other books that you have written. This is your third book.
Yes.
And this is it like a continuation of Shallow Graves, or is it all by itself?
It's all by itself. I can't, it's a standalone. I came across that story when I was researching my second book, The Ghost, The Hunt for the murder of Greg Adams and the hunt for his killer. And one of the investigators in that case worked on the case involving the disappearance of Patty Desmond. And I had asked him when I was there, is there any other cases that you worked on? And he said, just 1 second. And he went in the other room and brought out his case file. And I sat on it for a bit because I wasn't certain what I was going to do. Saxonburg. This was in the greater Saxonburg area. It was in one of the other small towns. And Saxonburg is like 7, 8 hours away from here. So it was a hike to go back and forth.
In Pennsylvania?
In Pennsylvania, western Pennsylvania. But eventually I got back into it and was wound up doing a child last seen. And that involves the disappearance of a teenage girl where investigators thought that they knew who took her or who was responsible for her disappearance and likely death, but they weren't able to find her body. And then through a twist of fate, someone came forward and broke the case wide open.
That twist of fate is sometimes what everyone needs. That's that last string of hope, isn't it?
It is. It really is. And it's very often, sometimes it is an individual who is the closest to the killer that holds the key to solving a case.
That's interesting. Is there any correlation, any connection between that kind of scenario and what happened in New Bedford with perhaps the officials thinking they know who did it or were at least on the edge of knowing?
Yeah.
Is there any correlation?
Well, you know what's interesting about the New Bedford case is how many people were on the suspect list.
Really?
Yes, there were a lot of people on the suspect list. And the public seems to, or certain segments of the public are convinced, oh, the cops did nothing. And that is BS. It really is.
Sure.
I'd be more graphic in my language, but I'm not going to. They worked very, very hard, and they looked at dozens of suspects. And to this day, they are still working on the case. Anyone who thinks that they are not working on the case, that they have put it on a shelf and no one cares about it, is wrong. I'm going to tell you that. It is not true. They continue to follow up on leads. When people send over information to them, just because they don't get back to them and say, yes, we checked it out and, this or that, that doesn't mean that they didn't.
Interesting.
But I'll tell you that, yes, they have checked out a variety of leads over the years, even as of this year.
If there was anything about true justice back in the 80s, what would true justice look like today in Shallow Graves, in the case of Shallow Graves?
For true justice in that case, it would be knowing who did it, whether the person is alive or dead. True justice would be someone being arrested and going on trial. After that, it would be them being able to say, this is who did it. This is who we believe did it.
So a name is very important.
Name is very, very important. And there's a lot of names out there. I mean, I have a whole list of people that other individuals have said, this is a killer, that is a killer.
What does the public misunderstand the most about cases like Shallow Graves?
Well, because this case unfolded in 1988, some of the investigative tools and forensic tools that we have today did not exist or were not readily available back then. We did not have a prevalence of surveillance cameras, number one. People did not have cell phones in their pockets that can be traced like we have today. Some people did have cell phones, but very often the cell phones were in your car. They were the bag phones, or
this big.
Yes, the very big ones. Yes, they look like bricks.
Right.
They weren't. Technology was very, very different. If this happened today, they would have caught the person. They definitely would have caught the person because they would have been able to trace where the women were last seen. Also, when the women were reported missing, it was all done on paper. It wasn't computerized. And the database for missing persons was really very incomplete in the state. A good example would be one of the victims who was found, the very first victim who was found on 140. She was reported missing in Fall River, not New Bedford. So, and she wasn't within the database that state police were just starting to compile.
When we come back, we'll continue our discussion with award-winning journalist and best-selling author Maureen Boyle, and we'll find out whether a conviction will ever come in this or maybe something deeper. We'll be right back. More of this amazing discussion in a minute. But first, please like, follow, and share The Phil Show now. Thank you so much.
Carefree Homes is an award-winning home improvement company. It's been family-owned and operated since 1978. For over 46 years of business and thousands of satisfied customers, this company is A+ rated. It's an accredited member of the Better Business Bureau. And listen to this, no payments until the project is completed. How's that? Financing options are available for roofing, siding, windows, doors, decks, you name it. CarefreeHomesCompany.com. Call for a free quote. 508-997-1111. CarefreeHomesCompany.com.
Welcome back to the Phil Show now. I'm honored to be with Maureen Boyle. How many times have you been honored as Journalist of the Year in New England?
3.
Well, this says exactly who you are and the respect that you have over your career is absolutely the very, very highest and best, Maureen.
Oh, thank you so much. That's so kind of you to say.
Your books also have another angle that I'd like to ask you about, preservation of history.
Yes.
How did this enter your mind that you were preserving history, or give us a sense of what you felt if there was a preservation going on?
Yeah, for shallow graves in particular, one of the reasons why I started the book, decided, yes, this is the time to write the book. I was always planning on writing a book on the highway killing case, but I was waiting for the killer to be found, to be identified, to be arrested, because I never gave up hope that that was going to happen. That was just a given. And then, 1 year turned to 2, turned to 3, turned to 10, turned to 20. And then I discovered that people were misremembering exactly what happened then. Some people thought that, oh yes, the killer was in prison. He was caught and tried and was in prison. Wrong.
How many different theories have you heard?
Oh, I've heard a number of them, and or people were the biggest thing is people just painting the victims as prostitutes,
Right.
And that no one cared, and that just was not true. It was not true. So I found that it was really important to document what happened then, to tell the stories of the women and the anguish of their families, and the work that investigators did, and to be able to talk to all of them before it was too late.
Did you ever hear the voices symbolically of the women speaking into your heart about what you were doing? Did you hear their voices that perhaps opened up something that would not have had it not been for that?
Well, what I felt was that I needed to honor them. And I needed to paint them as, three-dimensional individuals, people who had a past, people who had a present, people whose future was taken, people who had families who loved them, people who had children. And for individuals who are learning about the case to understand this could have happened to them and to their families there, but for the grace of God. And if they think that that can't happen to them, they are wrong.
Absolutely.
And I was very glad that I was able to interview as many people as I did. I mean, we're talking, over 50 people I interviewed for the book. And to be able to get their stories, because unfortunately many of them have passed.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
The parents of Marilyn Cardoza Roberts, her parents, she's still missing. Both of her parents have since passed. And Christina Montero, her mother, is also since passed. And they never got the answers of where their child is. They were never able to bury them. They were never able to put them to rest.
What a terrible void.
It is. It really is. They had no place to mourn. And someone took that away from them.
In a strange way, Maureen, do these women teach us about dignity that readers might not expect?
I hope so. That's a very good question. I really hope so. I think, and I hope that people, when they look at individuals that are unlike them, who are going through very difficult times, times that are foreign to them, that they don't paint them with a really broad brush, because they don't know what that person is going through. Social media these days, everyone's complaining about something. They're complaining about people that are the other, people that are unlike them, and trying to blame them for all the ills of the world. And that's just not true. You can't do that, because people are people, and people have some very interesting stories to tell. And that's one of the reasons why I loved being a journalist. I loved being a daily journalist. I loved, in a weird way, covering crime, because you were able to get a peek into a different world, and get a look and appreciate what you have, because what you have can be taken away at any moment. I don't know how many times I'd been in court, sitting next to families who are not unlike us, who in a blink of an eye, their entire world has shattered.
That's about the right length of time, too. It turns in an instant. How many years did you work on this, on Shallow Graves?
Shallow Graves, full-time, about 2 to 3 years.
After all of the work that you've done on the book, how has the book improved your life? How has working on it opened your eyes to things that you weren't aware of? Has it entered your heart in a way that only you know?
Well, the case is one that haunted me back then, and still continues to haunt me, because I really want to make sure that people do not forget these women, do not forget this case, and do not forget the families. I want an answer for them. And hopefully the cold case unit assigned to the Bristol County DA's office will one day come up with an answer. And again, contrary to what people believe, they are still working on it. Not like they were doing in 1988, 89, 90, and 91, when things were fairly fresh. I mean, it has been more than 30 years. But sometimes when you can step back from a case and look at it with fresh eyes, you may see things differently and may be able to explore some other different avenues.
And as somebody who asks questions, mine is 30 years. How am I going to pick out the very most important parts so that you can tell a story? And I'm leading up to, what didn't I ask you?
Well, you asked some absolutely wonderful questions. One thing, let you know, I got very little sleep in 1989 when I was covering the case. That was when the Standard Times was in a PM paper, an afternoon paper.
Yes.
Some of your listeners and viewers remember that time when the paper was downtown. So I would be in work for 7 a.m., writing stories on deadline, and then start looking and making other calls and hitting the streets to find stories for the next day.
Wow, amazing.
And very often at night, I would go on the streets to different places, including Weld Square, to talk to some of the addicts about what they were seeing, what they were hearing.
Is there anything that you want to share with our listeners, our podcast viewers, that talks about our society, talks about who we are as people, that touches the connection of people?
I think, and this I would say to, particularly to those that are here in the South Coast area, keep your ears open and remember the victims, remember their families, and remember that it is possible a killer is walking amongst you, and or had been, and you owe it to yourself, to your community, and to your family to come forward, no matter how hard that might be. Because no one should get away with murder, and particularly no one should get away with killing 11 women. Keep that in mind. This isn't, a bar fight. This is 11 women murdered and dumped along local roads.
This is why we need to have you come back, so that we can continue to travel that road. And I hope you accept our invitation, because you have done more than preserve and give us the facts of the story. You have also given us a reason why we must see this on. Even when you're gone, we must see it through, because that is what a community, a good society does.
Yeah, very, very true. Very, very true. And this is a good community. It always has been.
Shallow Graves, one book. Your second one is?
The Ghost, the Murder of Police Chief Greg Adams, and the Hunt for His Killer, which is based in both Pennsylvania and the greater New Bedford area.
Which is a bizarre
Yes.
fascinating story. That is a must-read as well.
Yeah.
And this,
and that story also touches on Whitey Bulger too, because some of the FBI agents who worked that case also helped catch Whitey Bulger.
wow, that's fascinating. And this being your third book,
That's a third.
and fourth coming up.
A fourth is coming up, and the fourth that is coming up is based in Massachusetts, based in Bristol County.
I am so pleased. And also, we are rewarded by who you are as both a journalist and as a person, Maureen Boyle. Very, very much so.
Oh, you're going to make me cry. Thank you so much. That is very sweet. Thank you so much.
Thank you for joining us on The Phil Show now. All the very best.